Hello crafters and welcome back. Um, so we are here at this point to actually determine the correct width of the spine. Um, what I told you earlier that was gonna come up to 5 inches, and I'm so happy that sometimes it's good to walk away from the project because deep down it didn't feel right. So I walked away from it. I thought it over to realize that it was wrong. Because I normally used to create my spine before I decorate, and like this, I keep myself in check, so to speak, on how much I decorate the pages. But like this, because normally I like to already do the covers, do the pages, do the binding system, attach the pages, the base pages, and then decorate as I'm going. And this is when I know where to stop because the page is already inserted in the album, so I know when to stop. But in this case, because like I said, this album was a challenge for me because I wanted to do something new and something different. I decided to create the pages first and see where it's gonna go from there. So that's the reason why first time I miscalculated my thought on how to get the correct size for the spine. So what we did, it still holds true. You have to measure the height. So whatever we did in the previous video with measuring the height of your pages all together, already matted, already with embellished, etc., holds true. So once again, in this case, we had 2 3/4 of an inch height. This is on your side because, like I said here, I'm not going to confuse you with that extra pocket that I have to deal with. So I did it here, but I'm going to do it again. I'm going to write down that, the height of our stack is 2 3/4. 2 3/4. Okay. Now I'm going to draw my 4 pages, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Because already at this height, our pages are comfortable. So they will sit inside the binding like this. But of course, we have to add the extra space so that when you open the album, the pages don't raise and stay as flat as possible. So we decided we are going to have 3/4 of an inch spacing in between the pages, right? So 3/4 here, 3/4 here, and 3/4 here. So all these 3/4 combined is 2 1/4. Okay, so we got this width so far. Now to this 2 1/4, I want to add an extra inch. Okay, so plus 1 inch, and basically that 1 inch is going to be, let me get like a piece of cardstock. So let's pretend that this is your spine, right? Let's say that from here to here is your 2 1/4. Those are the 3/4 of an inch gussets. So that extra inch is going to become half an inch on the inside, half an inch here and half an inch here. And in between these 2 1/2 inches, your binding is going to sit. Okay, so 2 1/4 plus that 1 extra inch, which is half an inch and half an inch, equals 3 3/4. And this should be the size of your spine. Okay, when we are going to talk more about this when we are going to start attaching we are going to start actually cutting the covers and the spine. Okay, but just wanted to bring it to your attention. The correct size of your spine should be 3 3/4. Okay, and then of course once you come up to this number, you have to make sure that of course this number is higher than the height of your pages stacked together, because then if it's smaller, you have to readjust or recalculate. You have to widen the spacing between the pages, because it only makes sense if your spine is smaller than, all these pages stacked up, then your album is not gonna it's gonna stay open like this when closed. And of course, in time, the spine might be too much pressure on the spine, and the spine might come apart. Okay, so this is for now. And at this point, we are going to work on our, oops, the mouse. I always forget about the mouse. Okay, so at this point, we're gonna start working on I'm gonna put these pages on the side on our binding. I'm going to do this with you. Mine is gonna be slightly different, only because, like I said, I have this piece to take into consideration as well. Actually, with this piece, for me, this is 3.5 inches now. Okay, so for the spine, I would like you to cut 3 pieces at 3.75 by 11, and 11 is the height of your pages. Okay, and then another 2 pieces, and these are 11 by 12. Okay, let's put the big pieces on the side and let's work on this. So now I am going to score this at every 3/4 of an inch. So put it in here, make sure it's nice and straight and it sits tight in there. So let's start working. 3/4, 1.5 inches, 2.25, and 3 inches. And we are going to do the same on all 3 of them. So we got 3/4, 1.5 inches, 2.25, and 3 inches. Once again, 3.25, 1.5 inches, and then 2.25 and 3 inches. And now let's also take the 11 by 12 pieces. On the 12-inch side, just score it 3/4. What am I doing? I said 3/4. 3/4 and 1.5 inches. Well, let's do the same to the other piece. So once again, on the 12-inch side, we're going to score at 3/4 and 1.5 inches. And now we are done with scoring. I'm going to put the big pieces on the side and we are going to work on the smaller ones. Okay. So now I would like you to fold on the score lines, but only on the middle ones. Okay, so the first and the last stay untouched, so we are only going to fold on the middle score lines. Next step is to actually glue all of these pieces together like this. Okay, nice and flat, and of course make sure they match from end to end. Okay, so let's do that. I'm going to use wet glue for this and I'm going to let the glue dry off properly before while we start working on the covers. I'm going to take some wax paper to put it on my surface because I'm going to use wet glue. And now I'm not going to use super glue because I only have a few bottles left and I would rather use that for when I use the forever. So now I need to make sure that these two match in height and also of course in width. But using wet glue gives me that wiggle room. It is very important for this to be glued on straight, because if your hinges are glued on crooked, of course your pages will be crooked on your album. And I want to check the ends to make sure that I'm nice and straight. And in order to make sure that the length is the same what I did first I cut at 11 inches and then I cut 3/4 of an inch, because sometimes, you know, even a 16th or even less than 16th of an inch will make a difference with this if they are not all nice and equal like this. Okay. Okay, feels like they are nicely glued down. When I put my hand here, it feels nice and smooth, so both sides are glued in equally. Okay, so let's do this with the last piece. So once again, because I got glue on my finger and I don't want to get this dirty, I'm gonna sit it up in order to match the height, making sure that I'm nice and straight while I still have wiggle room to match it otherwise, because I use wet glue. And like I said, I'm not happy about my double-sided tape. You can use double-sided tape, but in this case I'm not happy with the quality of my double-sided tape, so therefore I will be using wet glue. And this one moved a little bit. Thank God I've noticed in time, and I just Because I'm using wet glue at this point, I'm not going to play too much with it, except for the fact that I want to make sure that everything is nice and glued down. I want to allow this glue to cure and to dry in properly before I do anything else. I don't care if glue got here but I just want to make sure that this is smooth, which means that the piece is glued on equally. And you can see here, you can see the, how do you call it? There is a little bit, I don't know how to explain it, like it's glued exactly up to the score line. We want this part to be nice and relaxed. We don't want any pressure, okay, on our binding system, especially with such a heavy album. Okay, and now let's put this on the side. Let me remove this because this might have glue on it. And now let's take these pieces. Normally, for a regular album that is not so heavy and so full of embellishments, I am feeling comfortable if this piece, so from where is the last score line, it's an extra 3 inches, because this is what will glue down on the covers, right? But in this case, because this is a big album, I'll feel more comfortable if this piece goes as long as it can. So since we are limited in the 12-inch papers when it comes to cardstock, I prefer to take a 12-inch piece of paper, score it what I need to score it to, use that part towards the hinge, and then the rest will go onto the covers. So one piece at a time, we are going to fold on our score lines, of course. Don't give me a hard time now. Actually, I shouldn't have scored on the first one, only on the second one. I'm sorry, guys. So only score on the second score line. I mean, fold on the second score line. And this will be glued here, and the other piece at the other end. Now let's score the other one correctly. I'll leave with that, but for these long pieces, only fold on the second score line, okay? Do not fold on the first one. Okay. So let me put this on the side and let's deal with this one. Oh my God, I hope you're not hearing my stomach. I hope the microphone is not that good. Just want to make sure that I'm good with the height. Now I can glue on the rest. Not pressing down hard yet. I want to make sure I'm nice and equal everywhere before I can go ahead and glue it down properly. Then I'm pressing with my fingers in my nails right there at the score line to make sure that it stays nice and flat. Testing, make sure it's straight here too, which it is. Just want to make sure the glue worked all the way down. Okay, and now the last piece, the other long piece attaches at the other end. Okay. Once again, ensuring that the height, is going to be properly glued from one end to another. And I'm using my surface as a guidance. It's like this, when I put this on my table, of course, without pressing, I'm allowing it to relax. I know that I'm going to get them from one end to another. So now that I'm happy with that, okay, which is this piece more than the rest? Seriously? Where's my ruler? No, okay, we are good. We are good. And that's it, guys. I'm gonna put this on the side to dry, and in the next videos, gonna work on the covers and spine and etc. So once again, not a half-inch spine. Like we said here, you are going to have a 3 3/4 spine. And you know what? Let me do something for you so you have a better understanding of what I'm talking about. Only because my spine will be slightly different than yours. So I wanted to show you something. So let's say this is your spine. So we said your spine is going to be 3 3/4. Okay. Oh no, wait. Oh my God, I'm such an idiot. What's wrong with me? All right, let's go back to talking about the spine. So we said that 3/4, 3/4, 3/4. That's 2 1/4, right? Plus 1 inch is 3 1/4. So your spine is going to be 3 1/4. See, this is what I'm talking about. Okay, I come from Europe. I'm so used to just using centimeters, milliliters, etc. So for me, all these fraction and inches are still like a little bit of a puzzle in my mind. I'm so sorry, guys. Thank God for my husband, who is a master of inches and fractions. So whenever hey, by the way, what does this mean? Okay, so once again, the height of your stack is 2 3/4, or whatever measurement you got when you measured your stack. Because like we said, the height all depends on the kind of papers you used, how many embellishments, maybe you used extra embellishments, etc. Okay, now I know that I have 4 pages, and in between each page I want to leave 3/4 of an inch spacing. Therefore, 3/4 and 3/4 and 3/4 gives you 2 1/4 inches. Now I want to give that extra 1 inch space, which is going to be for the front and the back of the spine. So then we are going to get 3 1/4 inches. When you get to this result, make sure that the size of the spine is bigger than the height of all your pages stacked together. If this is smaller, then you'll have to adjust the width in between of your gussets to make sure that your final result is bigger. Otherwise, like I said, your album is not going to stay nicely closed or flat. The covers will be like this. Okay, so the correct width of your spine should be 3 1/4. So let's pretend this is your spine. So I'm going to cut this at a 3 1/4. Okay, so this is your spine for your album. Now remember that extra 1 inch will be here and here, right? So now let's take our ruler, which I cannot find. Seriously? I was just using it to measure the height of the... Oh, come on. Where did it go? Oh my goodness. That's so weird. All right, I can't find the ruler. We'll find it offline. What I'm going to do instead, I'm going to use 1/2 inch tape. So this is 1/2 inch. This is so strange that the ruler is not here. I just used it in this video. Alright, so let's pretend this is your binding with a 1/2 inch space on both sides. I think this is easy to see because at least the backing of this, it's, you know what? Let's draw lines just to make sure it's visible. Where is that half an inch space? Use a marker. All right, this is your half an inch space. So when you apply your binding or your hinges on your spine, those the first and last folds, the first and last whatever I call this, flaps, binding, whatever, will sit in between this half an inch space. Okay, and as you can see, it's perfectly okay. Let's see if we can do it this way. Of course, the fact that it's a score line and you're attaching two pieces together, this is going to be a little bit, see how my first and last sit exactly in between that first and last, I don't know how to call this, flaps or whatever hinges that you're attaching the pages to, right? Will sit in between those half an inch space on each side. Alrighty, this is it. Hallelujah. Okay, so you're gonna have a 3/4 of an inch spine in width. Height is going to be 12 inches because this is a 11, 11 inch height. Uh, how do you call it? Pages. You are going to we are using 11-inch pages, um, and of course the covers will be, you need a height of 12 inches so you can allow, half an inch at the top, half an inch at the bottom, and also here is, half an inch or a little bit more space. Alrighty. So when we come back, we are going to talk about the covers, we are going to talk about the spine, and once again, my spine is going to look a little bit different than yours, only because I have that extra pocket. But I'm going to try my best to explain to you how to work on your spine. Your spine is a lot easier because now I have to take into, for me, for example, here at the end, I'm going to have more space, you see, because I'm going to use the half an inch here, but I still have 4 pages like you guys. So therefore here for me at the back is going to be a wider space between the last hinge and the end of my at my spine in order to allow to that envelope that is glued on the back cover to also have space when you close or open the album, of course. Okay, so see you in the next video. Enough talking. See you in the next video, guys. Bye for now.